And what is your relationship with, say, the Ramakrishna mission?
We are not. We don't accept any authority.
Why not?
Because they are not doing according to Shastra. They are doing whimsical.
But they are doing very good social work.
But social work has nothing to do with spiritual.
Does this organization do social work?
Yes, this is the best social work. We are giving the best education, best knowledge, best hope of next life. So what will there be? They do not know what is next life.
Hare Krishna, welcome to the Bliss Podcast, coming at you live from London. My enthusiasm has been cut in half because this is the second time in the past 15 minutes I've given this intro. I accidentally started recording this without the video. Anyway, I decided to re-record it for the pleasure of those who are watching it, those few good souls who are watching the podcast. I know they would like to see video also with the audio, so now I'm re-recording. So for this austerity, please give a like, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and drop a comment. Let me know how you like the podcast or how you don't like the podcast. Please criticize me like anything. Smash me, insult me. Very nice. Purification. Let me know. Everything. Open your minds in the comment section there below, whatever it might be. Okay. Welcome to the Bliss Podcast. Maybe I already said that. I can't remember. Anyway, even if I did, welcome again. If you're new, welcome. If you're back again, welcome. Welcome one, welcome all. So, sorry if I sound a little tired. I would say smashed, but the word smashed has different meanings in different places depending on where you're from. In some countries it means drunk. So, I am drunk on tiredness, not on beverages. Please do not misinterpret. Yes, we don't do like that at Bliss, but anyway. Let us now get into the podcast, because that's what you came here to see/listen to, right? Not me ramble on about nonsense. So, what are we going to talk about in this podcast? If you are not familiar, there is a term that we use in this Krishna consciousness movement quite frequently. It's called Mayavadis. It's a very interesting word. There's practically speaking no word I can think of in the English language, or I don't speak many languages at all, so I can't think of other languages also. But Mayavadis is very unique. What does it mean? Because obviously people who are not familiar, they have no idea. So Mayavadis, even if you don't know by the name, you certainly know by the philosophy, because this philosophy seeps into the very fabric of modern society, especially in the Western world, but everywhere. This is a widespread, I will go as far as to say, poison, and we'll explain why am I using such a harsh word, poison. Well, we're going to get into that in just a moment. Hold on your horses. We're going to explain. It's not a fanaticism. Very scientifically, we'll explain why I use this harsh word, poison. So, sorry, Bridget is laughing. It's like that. So, yes, the philosophy of Mayavad has permeated the whole society. It manifests like this. One aspect of the philosophy we've covered in many podcasts already. Let us just check out the Expand the Bliss YouTube channel. Wow, look at that. So shiny, nice. Have you ever seen this channel before? Imagine, you just come across this channel for the first time. Amazing. Your mind is being blown at all the content we have here. Just see pages upon pages of content, podcasts, and classes, and Sankirtan chanting on the street, and funny cooking videos, and wow, this is amazing. Also, this is like a mini movie here. This is wonderful. Why haven't you been on the channel before? Why haven't you subscribed? These are the questions you should be asking. So please subscribe. Also, okay, so now what did I come here for? Right, I got lost in the Bliss Ocean. Here's a podcast. Are you God? Here's another podcast. Right to answer it. No, you're not God. And uh, and here's a class that His Grace Purja gave. Many paths, one goal, Krishna. So these are 3 videos you can find on our channel, specifically dealing with the latter aspect of the Mayavad philosophy, that we are all God. But there's another aspect called all paths are one. So you'll find this more often. Well, maybe not even more often, but you'll find this manifested in even in other religions. This very safe tactic, very safe preaching tactic or philosophy that people use, that all paths are good. You can follow your thing. I have my thing, but ultimately we're going to the same place. The goal is one. So this is a very nice, safe philosophy people use because, not nice, I'm being sarcastic. I hope the sarcastic twang was obvious enough for you to pick up. If you didn't pick it up, I'm not using nice in a literal sense. It's a safe so-called philosophy to be non-confrontational, to not stand up for anything, to not have to face any criticism. It's also something you use if you don't really know what the goal is, right? If you actually knew what the goal was, then you would also know that there are not many paths. Why? Well, because it's just logic also, you know? Like let's say you have your path and I have my path, but my path is to kill you. So if my path is to kill you, or say that your path is rubbish, then our paths are conflicting, and then how can all the paths lead to the same goal? So we can use a very simple piece of logic, right? Throw it into throw the stick in the wheel there of the Mayavadi bicycle wheel, and but we're going to go a little deeper than that also. But right from the get-go, we can establish why it's a nonsense. Anyway, what was I saying? I got lost. Okay. So, yes, this philosophy permeates all of culture. It doesn't matter. You might be a doctor, you might be a butcher, you might be a teacher, you might be a preacher. So many things. It even enters into devotional, spiritual circles, this philosophy. Oh, I respect you. Yes, please. You can do whatever you like. Simply, you respect me also. So, yes, this stems from a lack of knowledge. So what this podcast is going to do is going to try and go deeper into this topic and maybe clear up some misconceptions. Now, where is the origin of this Yatamat Patatopat philosophy? Maybe if you're in the comment section, if you're a native Hindi speaker, Sanskrit scholar, or something of that nature, you can correct me. I'm not entirely sure if this phrase, it comes from the Hindi language or what it comes from, but Yatamat Tatapat is a phrase that was brought over by a certain rascal mission called the Ramakrishna mission. So the Ramakrishna mission, I'm not going to go into a big detail of it. It's not so nice to analyze I'm not going to get too graphic here. Not so nice to analyze fecal remains, but the Ramakrishna mission was a mission of monks, so-called. They came from India, and they came to the Western countries in the late 19th century to preach this impersonal school of thought. And one of the doctrines which they followed was Yatamat Tatapat, which means many paths, one goal. And actually now that philosophy, although it permeates society even to this day, of course has been very much deviated even from the original deviation from the Vedic scriptures, which do not give this conclusion, but on a surface a surface examination may give this conclusion that there are many paths to one goal, or there are many paths in general. Um, yes, it's been deviated from that original deviation. Originally, when Ramakrishna started his cult, the original philosophy was Panchopasana. So Panchopasana translates to the worship of 5 different gods. And if you go to any Hindu temple, or not any Hindu temple, but many Hindu temples specifically, not Hare Krishna temple, but Hindu temple, you will find that they are worshipping 5 deities, namely Ganesh. He's the one with a big elephant head, to speak, on a kind of a gross way. Ganesh has got the big elephant head. Lakshmi, she is usually portrayed with 4 arms, and a sitar, sometimes like that. Sitar is an instrument. Durga Mai, that's another demigod. Vishnu, which is very nice, but not really. If you worship Vishnu like this, it should be Vishnu and Vishnu only in pure devotional service. But and then who's the other one? Shiva. So you have Shiva there also, Lord Shiva. I'm sure most everyone is familiar with Maheshwara, Lord Shiva, who is actually a great devotee of Vishnu. Yes, Lord Shiva is actually a devotee of Vishnu. Prabhu knows that shloka. Prabhu, sorry, I don't mean to engage you, but what is the shloka? The Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava shloka? Yaishnava Nam Yata Shambhu. I can't remember that shloka. Anyway, so thank you. But this shloka means that Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. Here he is. Many people have seen him depicted. So this is one of the 5 different, they say gods, but actually, apart from Lord Vishnu, according to the Vedic scriptures, these other deities are demigods. So, not actually equal entities. Although they're very powerful controllers, for example, Lord Shiva is destroying the whole material world at the time of annihilation. Lakshmi is the goddess of fortune. She controls all the wealth, all of the valuable stones, the golds, everything. Everyone's wealth is coming from Lakshmi. And Durga is controlling all of the material energy. All this energy you see around us, the Bhumirapo Nalayovayo, all this earth, water, air, fire, it's being controlled by Durga Mai. She's the superintendent of this world. And then Ganesh, what is Ganesh? I've actually now I've forgotten what Ganesh is doing. What Ganesh is the demigod in charge of. Can't be fortune, no? Bit auspicious, okay. So maybe the demigod of auspicious, I'm not sure. I actually think he also has something to do with fortune. Anyway, he looks pretty cool. So, but these are not, according to the original Ramakrishna philosophy, these are representations of one absolute Brahman who has, come from formlessness into form, which makes absolutely 0 sense. But anyway, we're not going to go into that aspect of the philosophy today. But so according to the original, these are just idols. Actually, it's not the fact. This is not symbolism or idols, or you'll see this everywhere. You get some Ganesh idol, Shiva idol, Vishnu idol. This is very offensive. These are actually, believe it or not, these are real personalities. It may be difficult for us to believe with our pea-like brains, but these are actually real persons. They live in higher planetary systems. But specifically Lakshmi, Lakshmi is also a little different story, but Ganesh, Shiva, Durga, these three especially, they are, how do you say? Whoop, loud pop up. They're not to be taken on an equal level with Vishnu. Vishnu is the supreme Lord. Actually, and this is why any kind of puja that goes on in any kind of Hindu temple, even in Ramakrishna temples, if they worship a demigod, Lord Vishnu also has to be there in the puja. I was actually just walking in an Indian grocery store here in East Ham, London, and we were seeing a Ganesh worship altar, and exactly as it is prescribed, Narayan is there. Narayan is another name for Krishna or Vishnu. He was waiting there in the background to give his blessings to the ceremony. Then this is the Vedic conjunction. Why? Because Vishnu is the supreme. He grants the authority to the demigods. And that is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna, he gives the empowerment to the demigods to give blessings. Right? So, I mean, just think, if Brahman has no form, then how can he be empowering the demigods? It's completely nonsense. So anyway, this is the original deviation, that there are many paths. Whatever path you take, ultimately will lead you to the absolute, because everything is just a manifestation of the absolute. Now that has become even more diluted, even more nonsense, and people think that even if you worship a stool, you worship a poo on the street, that is equivalent to God. I mean, this is really like, people actually, Vivekananda, okay, so not even so far away from the deviation. Vivekananda, this so-called Swami, who was a direct disciple of Ramakrishna, he was propagating this. You can worship a stool, and that is equivalent to the Supreme Lord. So this is this is the status, and it's come to this point that you can worship anything, you can do whatever you like, and ultimately we're going to reach to the same place. Actually, it's atheism. There's no recognition of a supreme Lord. So just to continue on this train of well, maybe it's not good to keep on smashing Ramakrishna mission, but anyway, I just uploaded now. Let me just see if it's uploaded. I just uploaded to Facebook a nice video. Okay, it's up there now, so I can go here. Let's check out, because we were just in London, in central London, in Canning Town, at the end of the Thames, and His Grace Purjabri was giving a very nice talk there. And I have to give a little disclaimer. I'm very apologetic for the poor filming. I was trying to film it secretly in the beginning, and then I tried to film it landscape and so many things. It was a real mess, so please forgive me. Oh look, there's a little secret Vivekananda here, looking like a rascal. Okay, let's watch.
Understand it from a devotee, from a bhakta.
Yeah.
Bhakto sime, priyo sime. That's what he says. I explain you this science because you are my devotee and you are my friend. So anyone who says that I am not a devotee, he is no qualification. He can give his translation. He can give, that is no problem. Anyone can write anything. But according to the standard of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna standard, this is not the way.
Yeah. True. Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see the last few chapters. I'm enjoying
Because
it.
even Sanskrit, it's such a complex language. It takes 12 years to learn the grammar. What to speak of the
23 more syllables or something like that. So,
yeah, it's very complex, and one word can mean so many things. That's why it is stated in the Upanishads, Yasya Devi Para Bhakti Yata Devi Tata Guru. Tasyata katita yatta prakashante mahatmana. That if you want to understand the meaning
Yeah.
of the Vedas,
Yeah.
you must approach a bona fide spiritual master. That's why traditionally in
Yes.
India, you go to learn, not just you buy a book, but you go to a sadhu
Yeah.
and you ask questions and
Sure.
you know,
You need a guru.
you need a guru, yes. Otherwise, it's like, many people read the Bhagavad Gita in the academia, professors and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And they study, but they study from an external point of view.
Yeah.
They don't
yeah.
get the essence, they don't get the taste.
Yes.
So that is useless.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Yeah.
I got a dash. Sorry, I got to get back to work. But
Yeah.
lovely to meet you guys. Got your
Same
card.
So that was a very nice man we met in Canning Town, who had the good fortune of being preached to by Burji Prabhu. So, yeah, so what Burji Prabhu was explaining there, which I think obviously is, of course, self-explanatory, but it brings up an interesting point. The context is that there are many translations of the Bhagavad Gita, and the great, vast majority of them are by people who subscribe to the Mayavadi philosophy. So they've given this opinion, for the most part, because they haven't accepted the process given in the Bhagavad Gita. They say that there are many paths given in the Bhagavad Gita. I was actually watching a scholar try to analyze the history when Bhagavad Gita was spoken, and he was giving like a preliminary little pravachan, a little speak on Bhagavad Gita, and he said that we know Bhagavad Gita. Yes, you can either get karma, you can either do your karma, you can do your jnana, you can do your yoga. Okay, maybe you don't know what these things mean. Karma means you do your work, you do your activities, give up the results, or do your piety, whatever. Jnana means you cultivate knowledge, you study Shastra, whatever. Yoga means you stretch the body. Meditation usually on something impersonal, the self, the divine, impersonal, vague conception. So they think like that you can take whatever you like from Bhagavad Gita and whatever floats your boat. So this is another misinterpretation. As Prabhu was quoting there, Bhagavad Gita itself, that Bhaktyo Priyosime, I think that's the Sanskrit. So Krishna says that I spoke this science because you are my dear devotee and friend, to Arjuna. So one has to become a devotee of Krishna to understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. And many scholars and translators, commentators on the Srimad Bhagavad Gita actually have no devotional inclination at all. They don't follow the process. So therefore they come up with these misinterpretations. And what is that process? That is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Everything is there in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is widely accepted, not just in the Indian spiritual circles, where it is universally accepted, but is also accepted in the Western world. Even prior to Srila Prabhupada's coming to the Western world, Bhagavad Gita was accepted among the scholarly circles as at least a great book of philosophy. And then Srila Prabhupada came and established that it actually is the standard of spiritual knowledge. So that when we're saying, okay, according to Bhagavad Gita, it's not like we're just saying it's our scripture, so you must believe it, citing scripture to prove scripture. But actually, the Bhagavad Gita, well, I've already explained in depth in many podcasts prior to this podcast that the process of ascending and descending knowledge. So I'm not going to go into that so much here. If you want to philosophically dive into that aspect, you can click on what podcast. Let's once again go to Expand the Bliss. So many videos here. Okay, so even though it doesn't sound like I would address that, We Didn't Land on the Moon, Part 1, revised and re-uploaded. This covers that topic very in depth, so maybe you could go and check that one out if you want to learn more. But let's just theoretically say that Krishna is God. So if God speaks something, that is the highest authority. And if you want to learn about God, then who better to approach than God himself? So Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, and there's no other book of knowledge that even has this claim that God himself is speaking, or to speak of one that is so widely accepted and studied by saintly persons, scholars, philosophers all over the world. But also, this knowledge is universally acceptable, plain to understand, clear knowledge, but at the same time, you must accept the process to fully realize it. So that process is given in Bhagavad Gita, Tad vidhi pranipatena paripashnena sevaya. You have to accept a guru to understand the Bhagavad Gita. And like Prabhu also quoted there, Tata, what is that? I can't remember. Anyway, we'll go back, or maybe you can go back. It's a nice shloka from the Upanishads. You have to accept a guru to understand the depths of Vedic knowledge, a bona fide spiritual master, and also render him service, inquire from him in a humble manner. And if you follow this process, okay, then you can begin to comment on the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So, who is a bona fide spiritual master? That question is obviously very much important at this particular junction. A bona fide spiritual master is he who repeats what Krishna says. He who represents Krishna. So, now, if someone says that I am Krishna, well, he's not exactly a spiritual master in the strict sense of the term, or any sense of the term. And that is precisely what some gurus have said, and still they claim to be commentating on Bhagavad Gita. So we don't accept any such philosophies, and that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada says here in this conversation I just played in the beginning of the podcast. The interviewer, who is this, Dr. Copeland? Oh, Professor of Modern Indian History. So, of course, being a professor, he asks, what is the relationship with the Ramakrishna mission? And Prabhupada says, we have no relation. We don't accept them as authority, because they're not doing according to Shastra. This is a very important point. You have to follow some kind of authority, some kind of shastric authority, some kind of approved book of knowledge, in order to even begin to ascertain the absolute truth. We basically cut down the many paths philosophy bit by bit, and this particular point cuts down many paths. We're going path by path. So if you have to accept a book of knowledge, it's not that just whatever I feel that is the truth. This is also very common. People say, "Oh, my truth is," everyone has their own truth. But that subjective kind of truth we kick out, because, for example, if there's some crazy person, some murderer, and he says, "Oh, my truth is now to kill everyone around me. It's very fun. I like it. Makes me feel very good." Is that truth going to be widely accepted? No, I don't think so. So, truth can't just be subjective. It also must be backed up by some authority. There must be some standard. Otherwise, it's chaos. So, at least a few million paths we cut out there, a few billion, trillion paths we cut out. So now we're dealing with Shastra, with scripture. Now, of course, there are many different scriptures, and if you follow that scripture, whatever it might be, because of course the Muslims will say Quran, that is the correct. The Jews will say Torah, Christians will say Bible, the Jehovah's will say I can't remember what the Jehovah's or the Mormons, sorry, more specifically, they study their own thing. There are so many texts. We don't have to go into all of them. But if you follow that respective scripture, yes, it will elevate you. Certainly. Eventually, you will actually come to God. So, wait, did Maitreya just agree? There are many paths leading to the same goal? Yeah, in one sense, it is true to a certain extent. Because you first of all have to know what the goal is. And that's a common misconception among all of this, all the people who propound to this philosophy, or basically anyone at all, is that they don't actually know what the goal is. So how can you say that all paths lead to the same goal? So what is the goal? Okay, Krishna here very nicely explains the goal in Bhagavad Gita. I lost it. Okay, 7:19. Bahunam Jamanam Ante Gyanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudulabha. So Krishna says here very nicely, after many, many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Okay, let's just read Srila Prabhupada's purport. The living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism, but when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life, and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, and that he is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness, and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva or Shri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. Okay, so hold on, let's just stop there for now. Now, even if you don't accept the purport, you might say, oh, that is your Srila Prabhupada's, your Swami Prabhupada's interpretation. Actually, in this video, the prelude to this video I took on Facebook of Purji Prabhu preaching, Purji Prabhu brought up another point that, it was in that video, that the Sanskrit is very complicated. But okay, yes, previous to this video, His Grace also said that the Sanskrit is not changed. Okay, now the meaning, that's another thing, but the Sanskrit is not changed. In any version of Bhagavad Gita, which there are prints to be thousands of years old, our Muslim brothers, they were telling me that they carbon date these scriptures to be 1,000 years old, or one of these prints. We know that, of course, Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago, but even if you take 1,000 years, it's very impressive that none of the Sanskrit has been changed for 1,000 years. So the Sanskrit remains the same. And this is what Krishna says, right? So whether you're an impersonalist or a Mayavadi or whatever, the Sanskrit is universal for all schools of thought, at least except the Sanskrit. Their interpretation may be different, but here Krishna clearly says, and there's no other way of translating this. Vasudevaha, that's Krishna. Vasudeva is Krishna's name. Sarvam iti. Thus, you can translate this directly. He is actually in knowledge to render unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. So now, if Krishna is the cause of all causes, then Krishna is the ultimate goal, right? God, the Supreme, is the goal of those many paths. So while your path may take you towards God, until you know who God is and what is your relationship to Him, then how can you say that your path will take you to the end goal? First of all, you must know what the goal is. So the process of bhakti yoga is actually the goal in and of itself. We are not a path, actually. Hare Krishna movement is not a path. To include us in the many paths, one goal philosophy is incorrect because we're not a path. We are the goal. We're not even we. We're all together. You, me, we're all the goal. We're actually the real propagators of Mayavad philosophy, true Mayavad philosophy. That we are all one, yes, we're all one, servants of God, servants of Krishna, one in spiritual quality, and there's not many paths. There's only one path. Oh, Prabhu is taking over the laptop. Okay, I'm excited. So there's only one path, and there's only one goal, and that is bhakti yoga, devotional service to Krishna. Right? There is God. Everyone agrees there is God. Right? Okay, so you have one aspect of the goal. Now, who is that God? You do not know. But we know. God is Krishna. God must be a person. The supreme, the absolute truth contains everything within your experience and everything outside of your experience. Hold on. Prabhu has just brought in newsflash, purport. I must read this purport now. When Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Krishna Mahaprabhu about the Svarupa of every living being, the Lord replied that the Svarupa, or constitutional position of the living being, is the rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we analyze this statement of Lord Chaitanya's, we can easily see that every living being is constantly engaged in rendering service to another living being. A living being serves other living beings in various capacities. By doing so, the living entity enjoys life. The lower animals serve human beings as servants serve their master. A serves B master, B serves C master, and C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that one friend serves another friend, the mother serves the son, the wife serves the husband serves the wife, and so on. If we go on searching in this spirit, we will be seen that there is no exception in the society of living beings to the activity of the service. The politician presents his manifesto for the public to convince them of his capacity for service. The voters therefore give the politician their valuable votes, thinking that he will render valuable service to society. The shopkeeper serves the customer, and the artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves the family, and the family serves the state in the terms of the eternal capacity of the eternal living being. In this way, we can see that no living entity is exempt from rendering service to other living beings, and therefore we can safely conclude that service is the constant companion of the living being, and the rendering of service is the eternal religion of the living being. Okay, one more. Yet man professes to belong to a particular type of faith with reference to particular time and circumstances, and thus claims to be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or an adherent of any other sect. Such designations are non-Sanatana Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu, or a Christian may change his faith, and so on. But in all circumstances, the change of religious faith does not affect the eternal occupation of rendering service to others. The Hindu, Muslim, or Christian in all circumstances is a servant of someone. Thus, to profess a particular type of faith is not to profess one's Sanatana Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatana Dharma. Okay, wow. So, one more, okay. Factually, we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. The Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and we living entities are his servitors. We are created for his enjoyment, and if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we become happy. We cannot become happy otherwise. It is not possible to be happy independently, just as no one part of the body can be happy without cooperating with the stomach. It is not possible for the living entity to be happy without rendering transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So, special guest appearance with Birji Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
There was a girl, hippie girl, who asked Prabhupada, but aren't there many paths to God? So Prabhupada said, where do you put the food?
Yeah, I was about to say this.
Do you put it in your nose? Do you put it in your eye? Do you put it in your ear? Do you put it in your anus? Huh? No, you put it in your mouth. There's only one way.
Jai. Yeah, so service must be there. Actually, the goal. Yes, but the service must be there. Somehow or other. Which is also, I mean, wherever you go, whether you're rendering service to the society or to the genital or to so many different things, actually that is also Krishna, because everything is Krishna's energy. So you're rendering service to Krishna somehow or other, whether you call yourself a Muslim or a Hindu, an atheist, it doesn't matter. You're rendering service to Krishna. So the goal is one, and also all the paths are one, because the paths are all service. Eventually, when you become frustrated with the material service, when you realize that serving the society, the mundane relationship, serving the girlfriend, the boyfriend, when you realize that serving your stomach, all these things become saturating, eventually you ask, oh, what is my actual service? What is the service that will satisfy the soul? And everyone is serving, like I said before, everyone is serving. In whatever body they're in, they're serving. And if we're not the body, right, because we're not the body, we're not the little boy body or the little girl body that we had when we were a little baby, that body is gone. Now we have a different body. So we're not the body, we're the soul within the body. Now what is that aspect that accompanies the soul? It's service. So all the paths are one, service. Now what is my eternal service? If I am eternal, if I'm not the body, if I'm the eternal consciousness, what is my eternal engagement? My eternal service, that must be service to the eternal. I also can't serve something impersonal. I can't just serve some vague idea, some light in the sky, some everything. Can you serve everything? Is it possible? No. Who has ever been able to serve everyone? It is not possible. You are limited. You cannot serve an unlimited amount of people or manifestations or so on and so forth. You must serve the one person, Krishna, who is the source of everything. And by serving Krishna, automatically everyone else is served. So all the paths are one, the goal is one, and everyone is satisfied. So not only do you become satisfied, but also the goal of this easy way out philosophy, oh, you are very nice, your path is also correct, that also becomes satisfied. That philosophy becomes, I don't know if you can say a philosophy becomes satisfied, but that philosophy becomes satisfied because you can realize that actually, yes, whatever path you're following, that is also correct. You're rendering somehow or other service to Krishna. It's only a matter of time before you render favorable service to Krishna, and then you reach the goal, which is pure devotional service to Krishna. Well, we're rendering service to Krishna somehow or other, but because it's not pure, because it's not in love, we think there are many different paths. We think there are different goals. And we become disturbed. no fixed mind. That is also explained here in 241 of Bhagavad Gita. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. And, okay, hold on, but there's one more shloka. So, those who follow Krishna consciousness, they have resolute determination, resolute intelligence, fixed minds. And those who don't, their intelligence is all over the place. So, then Krishna elaborates further here, but it's just taking me a long time to reach that shloka. Okay, maybe I will never be able to find it because steady intelligence. Anyway, you can understand from logic. If your intelligence is all over the place, if your mind is out of control, you're never going to find peace of mind, you'll never be happy. If you're fixed in the conception of the one goal, the one truth, Krishna, the all-encompassing truth, then you become actually peaceful. So, yes, it may seem on a surface level that all the paths are different and other people have different goals, but if you look at it scrutinizingly through the vision of Srila Prabhupada's books, the Bhagavad Gita, you can understand on a higher level that actually all the paths are one, the goal is one, and then you become very peaceful. So, in short, don't hear from Mayavadis, kick out Mayavadis. Chant Hare Krishna or chant any name of God, doesn't matter, whatever religion you follow, your path is very nice. Chant the holy name of God and like that. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Sorry for abrupt podcast. Join us next week for more podcasting. Subscribe to the channel, like the page. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, you know what it is. Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Hari Bol.